Hey guys, I am back. It has been a couple of weeks since my last video. Well, technically about 18 hours since I uploaded the full version of my finished intro. First ever video with it on. Genuinely proud of it. First time I ever used After Effects. Turned out to be a bit more difficult than I thought it would. Anyway, moving on, because I want to make this one shorter than my previous videos. If any of you follow my Instagram, you would know that a couple of weeks ago I got paid, and I got the Meg books by Steve Alten. Well, the ones that are in book form. For example, the first one, Novel of Deep Terror. I will review that after this video. The Trench will follow straight after. Then Primal Waters and Hell's Aquarium. But the one I'll be doing in this video is the one that is the prequel to Meg, a Novel of Deep Terror, but it was released after the fourth book, Hell's Aquarium. It's called Meg Origins. I written up a review for this one on my blog a couple of days ago, and now I finally get to put that to video. Yay! Alrighty then, let us begin. Meg Origins. Released in 2011, Meg Origins is chronologically the first in Steve Alten's Meg series, but it was written and released 3 years after Hell's Aquarium, which was released in 2009. Meg Origins was written and penned as a thank you from Steve Alten for all the support on the Meg series. As I said before, Meg Origins is a prequel set in the 7 years before the events of Meg, a Novel of Deep Terror, where Jonas Taylor is at the height of his career as an aquanaut and working for the US Navy as a highly regarded and respectable submersible pilot. Right, the book's prologue begins 100 years before, when the HMS Challenger discovers the deepest part of the Mariana Trench, which is then named the Challenger Deep after the ship itself. After dredging the bottom, the crew come across fossilized megalodon teeth, and from looking at the specimens, the crew discuss the possibility of a megalodon still being alive in the present day. And this leads to a sweet nod to Peter Benchley's novel Jaws, where one crew member jokingly says, "We're going to need a bigger boat." Just a little bit of trivia, but for anyone who reads like shark stories and sees shark films, it's not really much of a surprise that this was inspired by Jaws. I mean, what else do shark movies have for inspiration? Anyway, getting back to the review, the story goes forward to when our protagonist Jonas Taylor wakes up from a dream and is called into sick bay for a medical for an upcoming dive for a fourth descent. At this point, Jonas has already been on 3 previous dives into the Mariana Trench, and he's understandably mentally and physically tired, exhausted. The physician of record, Frank Heller, who is performing the checkup on Jonas, is pressed by the commanding officer Richard Danielson to allow Jonas to go onto the 4th dive despite his obvious exhaustion. Jonas says outright and directly to Danielson that knowing his current condition, it could potentially compromise the mission and its crew, but Danielson insists that Jonas man up after telling him to get some caffeine as well as the antivert and the shot of B12 prescribed by Frank Heller for his vertigo and his fatigue. Jonas argues his point about the conditions in the Mariana Trench, about all the pressure and the feeling of claustrophobia would also influence his judgment, and he also expresses concerns for his backup pilot Royson. And he's the only pilot who has been at least 15 miles down, or at least 1,500 meters. But Jonas argues that he's nowhere near ready for a dive 7 miles below sea level. Danielson disagrees with this and tells Jonas he will be piloting the sub because if he doesn't, he'll be issued with a court-martial and the backup, Royson, will take his place regardless. 40 minutes later, Jonas is then on board the DSV Seacliff, going through the pre-dive checklist before taking the dive into the Mariana Trench and the encounter that will change his life forever. Meg Origins is a short and sweet story. I came to reading it just after I read the first one, A Novel of Deep Terror, although it's not really a requirement to enjoy it or really understand it. But what does this bring to the Meg series? I guess more than anything it adds an extra level of closure. By itself, it tells the story about how many different factors come together at the same time to trigger the encounter between Jonas Taylor and the Meg on his Navy dive on the Seacliff and the aftermath of the incident. It does bring back a lot of familiar faces that you see throughout the Meg series, and it fleshes out some of the major characters, including the two scientists who were on board the Seacliff with Jonas during that dive, as well as his best friend James Mac Macready's, and it expands more on his time under military service and the events that led to his discharge and confinement into the psychiatric ward where he meets Jonas. The story as a whole lends incredible emotional impact and a lot of fill-in-the-gaps understanding to the original story. So there we have it. If you haven't read any of Steve Alten's books, I would say that Meg Origins is a good place for you to start, and it helps give you as the reader an idea of what to expect in other entries of the Meg series, as well as his other works, including The Lock and his newest book, The Omega Project, which I want to have a look at. Now, Meg Origins is available only as an ebook. Actually, technically that's wrong, because it's now available as an audiobook alongside Meg, A Novel of Deep Terror. That's been re-released onto a CD audiobook. Going back to Meg Origins for a moment. It is available in all ebook formats. Here in the UK, I got my copy from the iBook store on the iPhone, and it goes for about 99p or about 79, roughly in that price range. In America it goes for 99 cents, so it's a nice cheap novel for you to sink your teeth into and to get started on the Meg series. Right, just a little bit longer and I'll wrap this up. Okay, so for the next couple of weeks, this is how my videos are going to pan out. I'm going to take one of the Meg books. This is the next one on my list, A Novel of Deep Terror. What I'm going to do is write up a review for it on my blog. So first I will write up a review. The screenshot you have right now is of my blog, Nero's Lair. There is a link on my channel page if you want to go and give it a read. I will be, like I said, I'll be writing up a review. I will be posting it here on my blog, and later on I will be doing a video version to put here onto YouTube. And that's basically what I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks until I'm done with the Meg series, and then I'll move on to something else entirely. So last thing, thank you very much for watching. Well, until next time, peace out, YouTube.